Alright, it's been a little bit. Haven't really showed you, but that's the easy bake oven. Just an old dresser with a homemade door on it. Sitting at a balmy 89 degrees, and inside you find that one lone holster in there. And I do this a couple of times. Make the initial impressions in it, and then get that in the shot there. Then begin to work on it. My son was just here with his grandbaby, my grandbaby. He said, "Dad, I've never seen you pry that hard on one to get it in." This one is his, and yeah, they get stiff like that. I had one like that not too long ago. If it's a blue gun, I just get the mallet out and hammer it in. The antique die is kind of, I guess because it's water-based, but it feels entirely different than a regular die when it's wet and you're molding it. And I'm just making the leather's still wet, kind of damp to the touch. And I'm just making the initial impressions that later I'll get a little more rigorous with. But you can't do too much when it's real damp. And I'll have to make another one because this ain't really how they usually go. Antique die is so different. The boning in process, forming the gun to it. I guess everybody's got their own style or whatever. Some guys, nothing against them, they you could see every line, every crevice of the gun formed into it. And I'd like to know historically if that came about after Kydex. It seems to me like they're trying to mimic what Kydex does, which is, hey, looks pretty sharp in its own way. The whole trick to when you're forming the holster is it's not what's on the outside, it's making the inside of it to the exact mold of the gun. That's how I look at it anyways. And the rest of it's kind of just for looks. If I'll remember, I'll show you this gun when I take it out. It's like there's no trigger in it, and it's duct taped together or electrical taped, because in this gun that's the mechanism that has the slide rails, I guess. But that'll do it for the next little bit. I'll probably let it sit in there another about 20 minutes. If you're wondering, this is a model spoon. That's what it's called. But I'll put that back in the easy bake. We'll come in, finish dressing her out. All right. Put her all sat in there a little longer than I thought. About 40 minutes, I think it was. Coming out just fine, though. Tight as it was going in there, Wait till you see me take it out. Because, and it wouldn't really be that hard to get up there, but it's got tape on it. Some of my guns, like this one, has layers of blue tape on it, and that makes it like sealed on there. They can be vicious to get out. All that'll pretty much go away. Some coloration. Of course, the antiquing process really. Any flaw that's there naturally, it's going to enhance it. Mark. Took me a long time to figure out where retention came from in a leather holster. People have been around Kydex so much that they get the two mixed up. Kydex gets the retention either from the ejection port or the trigger, depends. But the leather holster is from being formed to it, and it's all the surface contact area. Believe it or not, that's one of the 3-inch 1911 is one of the hardest ones to make, just because there's not as much contact area. And you got to get her pretty snug. Can't go digging in there because there's a rail. If I was to go to forming that, it'd just lock the gun right in there. If the leather would be going down inside of the divots of the rail, that would be no way, no. I think that I'll be able to let this set. Tomorrow morning, used about 12 hours they'll sit inside the Easy Bake. In the morning I'll come out, of course you'll be here. I'll pull the gun out and leave it set to air dry, usually about another 12 hours. Tomorrow evening I'll wind up sealing it. Should be ready to roll. Let's see if we can get her put in the Easy Bake. How about that? Can set that there. Got a few more companions in there since you last saw it. Boom. Say night-night. We'll see you tomorrow. Alrighty. It's the next day. Turned down Johnny Cash there. And came out early this morning, took the gun out. But when I take the gun out, if it's the real McCoy, of course it's been in the wet leather all day, so I oiled it. Oiled the gun real good. There's always one sitting over there on my cleaning bench to take, let it set in oil for a while, sprayed oil, wipe it down. Some people are skittish of that. I've got my personal guns that I've made who knows how many holsters off of. Ain't no different than sweating on it all day. It's pretty much dry. It might be a little damp in some of the thicker areas inside of the holster. And I'll just pass over with the burnish one more time. And because of the way I burnish, I can actually get into all the nicks and grooves and crannies and touch it up one time. Most people have a drill attachment or a wood burnisher. I don't think they can do this. To each his own. Not a knock. Again, comes kind of easy after several hundred holsters, but you just got to control your water, not let it get on the places you don't want it, or there is a forevermore. And I couldn't say I haven't ever dropped a drop of water on the holster. And what I do if that happens, pretty much stop what I'm doing, saturate the whole outside of the holster with water. That way it won't be visible. And equals out, because the whole thing, I purposefully get the whole thing wet, that way it equals out with the mistake, I guess you'd say. And then you wait basically a day to go back to working on her because she's all wet. Don't happen too often anymore though. Okay. Played forever. It's hard to get the water down inside of here without getting it on the holster. And I found these little things. I get them at Springfield Leather. They're real small daubers. Boy, they're great for getting in the nooks and crannies. I guess pretty much I use them for the belt loops. Good to have on hand. Next thing we'll do is we'll let this dry. Later today I'll come out and seal it. And this one's got a little extra steps in it. Usually when I seal it I'm done. But after I seal it I'll put the hardware on for the thumb brake. And I do it at the end. That way you don't get sealant all over the hardware. That ought to do. That ought to do. See you this evening. Okay. Got to the time that this is good and dry. I'm going to put the acrylic Resolene on it. It's what I use on all holsters unless I'm told to do otherwise. Some things I dip dye and some things I don't. This is how I typically do it. Be real liberal with the stuff, in my opinion. Sink it into the threads real good. Doesn't take that long. And I use a different vat for different things, or the little jar there. I've got a bigger jar that I use principally. And but the antique dye, being water-based, you get some inside of the jar as you re-dip the brush. Again, antique holsters, antique dyes. A little more work, I guess, a little more precaution. I don't know if it's more work. And I don't really do the inside of the holster. A lot of people do. If you dip dye, you do. That's one of the reasons I don't dip dye that often. Dip dye is just having a vat, a little tub, just totally submerging the whole thing in it. It's a lot easier. I'm just not convinced that it's necessarily better. Most of my stuff is made real snug, and if you dip it, it can get ridiculously snug. I just kind of play with it till there's no more runs. And if you can see different colors, it'll all even out here in a little bit. Oh, I forgot to do that. That's going to make a mess. There we go. No mess. And I got to put the hardware on this one. Really best not to do it until it's completely cured. You can handle this thing in about 5 minutes, maybe 10. I mean, it's dry to the touch, but really it needs to go about a half a day. Full day's better, but I usually tell people I'm done once I've done this, and then they come the next day. Okay, I got a call while I was recording. Never had that happen. No idea if the first part of the video is even going to be there. So I'm going to take her and put her on my little drying rack. Ain't no reason I can't show that to you. Tripod's handy, but sometimes it gets in the way. Everything just piles on. And you got several things going on there. Each different stage they're going at. But that'll be it for right now. See you here maybe this evening or in the morning. Okay, I just took the holster off of the rack, and I'd already cleaned the gun, but I have to tape it back together. It's just a piece together thing, really. And if you're ever curious, every gun I build, holster I build, is going to fit like that when you first get it. It's going to be snug, that snug. You can't shake it out. It's impossible. Even though it's got a thumb brake, it's going to be snug. That's the way it's supposed to be, and then you break it in. Some people want a thumb brake on a holster, and they say just make it sloppy loose. Best way I've heard that described, you might as well get a sock and put a strap around it. It still needs to have a good fit. I don't make them quite as tight on thumb brakes for the obvious reason, but it's still going to be just like that. When you break it in, you'll be able to shake it out. I don't have my... I ain't going to explain that anyways. But anyways, I'll probably stop a time or two, because some of this I got to stop and think, because this is my last opportunity to screw up the holster. And we don't want to do that. But you got to get the placement and all just right. And you'll forgive me if I need to stop. I just will, because I can't make a mistake right now. I'm almost home. And I want to make sure it's plenty snug. You want the, ideally you want, when it snaps, you want it to kind of spring a little bit. I couldn't say I've perfected that, but Last couple have turned out spot on. I think that's where I want it. And I'm going to leave it running. This may be a little drawn out, but I just can't rush right here. So, need my snap. Get a couple different pieces. I'm just a bad-mouthed Tandy. I just bought some snaps from another distributor that I use, and boy, their snaps are a lot higher quality. Really, really good. When I first started, I honestly thought there can't be any difference in that, but there is. Naturally, I didn't prep anything, so I ain't got. You get to watch the whole shebang. Sometimes I kind of get things together. Not really the case right now. I'm gonna poke a hole right there. Wrong piece. I didn't bring it with me. I'll get it in a minute. There's a protector, a plastic piece that goes on right there just to keep that metal off of the gun. That is right, yeah. Every time I do one, I second guess myself on this one. Yep, bad form again, but I ain't making a mistake just because I'm on that there YouTube. If you get it backwards, it don't work the same. The setting of the snap. They make a real fancy snap setter, and I almost bought one. It's quite pricey, to tell you the truth. And then I'd kind of changed my mind, because I've gotten pretty good at setting them, I think, in my humble opinion. Got several of these, and just always that one you just think's going to work a little bit better. Seems like no matter what I do, I'll work the snap several times when I get done. I usually wind up tapping that just a little bit more. This part, I've done it several ways. The whole objective is that if you put the snap right there, well, there's that much clearance that it's not much, it's maybe 1/8 of an inch, but it's gonna poke the back away from the gun. So I've tried several different ways. Last one I did the following because I think I liked it the best. Let me wet this just a tad. That way I'll get a good impression and know where I gotta put things. I want that right there. Boom. Just a smidgen off center, but that'll do. I want it right there. And I've kind of hastened through a lot of stuff when I'm on camera, but I'm just not going to right here. Dun 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 dun. Need to poke a hole. I don't have my awl handy, so I will use this. I don't know if you can see that. I'm poking a hole here. I'm going to go a little bit further in, just because I think it needs to be. I'm just poking a hole so I know where to drive, because if I go that away, it's going to mar this portion, and I don't want that. So I make it kind of backwards. This 2 layers might shake you a little bit. And this is the part, pinch myself, takes a little doings, but I think it's worth the effort, especially since I bought a fancy new tool a while back. is it's called skiving. I'm gonna cut a circle out on that. It's kind of hard to do because everything's in the way, but I'm gonna cause this to recess inside of there. And I'll try and get it to where you can see it there. That wasn't the way it's supposed to go. And I want to take off a fair amount. There's 2 layers here. And if you can get that button to sit down in there a little bit, it'll just be better overall. Usually just go round and round, but the holster kind of stops me. Bear with me. If you're wondering, I just kind of polish this a little bit. And I haven't done this too many times, so it may not be real graceful on camera. Now the difference is how flat that sits in there. That maybe 1/8 of an inch, if I can get it on the camera like that, it will be gone. It falls if I do that, but that distance is gone. It makes it worthwhile. Now, I know I brought the thumb brake over here. There it is. You can use anything for a thumb brake. I just buy them, but it's just a real stiff piece to make sure the snap disconnects the way you want it to. Let's see, we can go through there. Go through there. Gotta have enough to bite in there. I'm gonna take just a smidgen more off. And the reason is there's the length of this gizmo coming up just a little bit short. If you don't get enough of it, when it rolls over, the snap will give way eventually. Snaps are like a necessary evil. In my opinion, in anything I make, the most volatile part is the snap. If something's going to break, it ain't going to be the leather. It won't be the stitching. I guess it could, but the most volatile part is the snap. And I don't think that's on camera, so we'll put that there. Put him in there. Make sure we're on it. Not scratch up the brand new pretty holster. Where'd you go? There you are. And I feel like I'm missing something. Here's hoping. Come on, get on there. You may not can see all this on your iPhone or computer. I don't know, I'm a little away from the screen. Maybe you've got one of them gigantic iMacs or something. If you do, you can afford a holster. I think we got it, but I always run the snaps. I snap them like a minimum of 25 times just to make sure everything's kosher. I want to go right there. Let's see. The other little piece is this one. And I'm going to change this out. Like the holes do not have the holes that go through, they don't like a lot of wiggle in them. Make them just the right size. Okay. That'd be about right, I guess. Whoops. This video ain't gonna go much longer. I turned off my AC to do this. It's hot here today. Whoops. Not enough. That'll get her. Okay. Another gizmo from the gizmo bowl over there. I still feel like I'm missing something. I think that's all good. Make sure the gun's in the right place. Hey, what's going on here? There we go. That's about the way it works. Hit the thumb brake, comes loose. There we go. She's ready to roll. Well, I'm gonna call this one a done deal. I don't know how much you could see in the video, but right before I put the Resolene on here, there was a kind of, the antique, it always comes out with a kind of a discolored pattern. And I don't really understand it, to tell you the truth, but when I seal it, that goes away. And you may have noticed that. Maybe you didn't pay attention. Maybe you don't care. I don't know. Kind of pretty. You ought to see the gun that goes in this. It's my son's holster. He really has that gun all pimped out. Fancy Cerakote 3%er job, and that's what this all is Oath Keepers symbols. And I got the mag done for it too, but I ain't gonna put that in here since I didn't show you. So, gotta put the snaps on it. That'll do her. That's how I do it. I'll make another one someday where I'm doing a lot simpler one maybe. But that's how you did it done. Now, you just need one. That's the way it is.